This is Dr. Carroll, and today's video is about for loops in C++. Let's look at the syntax first. Obviously, we're going to have for, that's a keyword, and then we're going to have three statements here. We're going to have the initialization, we're going to have the continuation expression, and then we're going to have an update. And those all need to be in parentheses, and they are separated by semicolons. Now, you're going to want to put curly braces here to define the body of the for loop. You can omit them, but just always do it. Okay, and then inside the for body, we're going to have one or more statements. So let's look at those three parts in turn. The initialization, the continuation expression, and the update. So the initialization always executes, but only once, and it's done before anything else. The continuation expression is evaluated as a Boolean, and either true, if it's evaluated to true, then the for loop is executed. It's always evaluated at least once, and it's evaluated before the loop body is executed, either before an iteration or before, whether it be the first iteration or successive iterations. Then the update statement is executed every time after the loop body is executed. So therefore, it may never be executed. The other two parts will always be executed at least once, but this one may never be, which is more uncommon than common. Let's look at an example. So let's initialize an integer num to 0, and then we have our initialization setting it to 1. We're going to continue until num is greater than 3, and each time after the body of the loop, then we will post increment num. So inside the body here, we're going to have Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Say that 3 times fast. And so when we execute that, that's exactly what we get, is the output is going to be that statement repeated 3 times. Now let's break down the execution one expression at a time, one statement at a time. We're going to declare a variable and initialize it. Then we'll do the initialization step. Then we're going to perform the test for the continuation criterion. And then since it's true, then we're going to output Peter Piper pick a peckle, that statement. Then we're going to update num. Then we're going to test the continuation expression again. And so num is now 2, and so it's true. We're going to output Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. We're going to update again. Now num is 3, which means it's still true. So Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. And we're going to update the num again. Now num is 4, so now when we test this continuation criterion, it's false. And so the next thing that's executed is after the for loop. Let's look at another example. Here we're setting a Boolean to which we're naming all done, and as the comments indicate, we really wanted to set it to false, but we accidentally set it to true, and so then and really we should have something in the loop that would change that, as would be normal, but I just kept it really simple to illustrate the point here. So in the for loop, and you can declare your loop variable inside the for loop. When you do that, its scope is limited to the body of the for loop, and you cannot use it after. Okay, so sometimes that's appropriate, and sometimes it's not. The continuation criterion here is we're going to do it 100 times, but only if all done is also false. And I also wanted to illustrate a compound statement here for the continuation expression. And then our update is a very common I++. Now, what's the output going to be? That's right, there is no output. So let's see a breakdown, one expression or a statement at a time. We're going to declare and initialize our variable. We're going to declare and initialize our loop variable here. And then we're going to perform the test. And now, while I is less than 100, all done equals true, so that evaluates to false. And so then that's why we had no output, just to illustrate that it is possible to never execute the body of a loop and nor the update. So now After you've learned about do-while loops, while loops, and for loops, which loop to use? Well, if you already know how many times a loop is going to execute, use a for loop. That seems the most appropriate. Otherwise, if the loop is controlled by an event and the body executes at least once, use a do-while loop. Otherwise, if the loop is controlled by an event, then use a while loop. And otherwise, you can always just use a while loop. Hope you enjoyed that. That's it for this video.